Hello, hello, hello. The FIFA Club World Cup podcast coming at you. It is now day 3, episode 4. Completely bowled over. The Qooligan and I are both in different locations. I'm currently on the East Coast in Florida, having just been to the Boca Benfica game, and what a game that was. That was incredible. Qooligan, obviously you are sort of taking care of some parental responsibilities on the soccer front on the MLS Next level, but I think you're going to get back into the Club World Cup tomorrow, which should be exciting.
I'm going to be back. I'm in the Club World Cup. I'm watching as much as I can.
You're in it.
But,
yes.
Between having to do the laundry after the games and all the other, right, and dealing with the possible dislocated shoulder and various other things, I mean, hey.
All those fun games. Wow. Your son wasn't playing for Benfica, was he? And getting hacked by those Boca players. That was some game. Hey.
No, he was getting hacked by people from Queens.
There we go. Well, hey. Same
difference.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have a special guest with us today. We have Manuel Veth, who is the one half of the Gegenpressing Bundesliga podcast and the head of content for Transfermarkt in North America, I believe. Manu, is that correct? That's have I got that right?
That's correct.
And obviously, you've been to more games than us, and probably going to more games than us as well, and writing about it. So obviously, it's good to have you on here and get your take and your opinion of it as well. And then, obviously, just while we're going through it, guys, obviously we've been seeing the analytics and the numbers. It's amazing. People actually listen, follow, watch, like, and the numbers are bigger than they've ever been. Each episode keeps on growing and growing. So what I would like to say is just a little outreach and say, if you are listening, if you are a fan of the Qooligan or, God forbid, myself, feel free to get in touch, please. Hooligan-soccer.com, contact form. Find us on the socials, on all the other social platforms. We're across all those. We'd love any feedback. If you think Hooligan's t-shirts are really bad, if you think if I say the word obviously too many times, that's also as well. That's absolutely acceptable feedback as well. So feel free to get in touch as well. And yes, villain of the year from your Crunchyroll days.
That's right.
So, okay, let's get into it, guys. So, Manu, you were at the Seattle Botafogo game yesterday. And you've there's been, I've been reading online, following online. There's kind of like these mixed messages that I'm seeing, right? Some parts of the sort of the internet are saying this is the most amazing tournament ever, and it's absolutely fantastic. I see other parts and say it's an absolute disaster. FIFA have put the prices up too much. There's not enough people in the stadiums as well. All the rest of it. What is your take so far on the FIFA Club World Cup? Because I think you've watched just as many games, if not more, than us.
I think both things can be true at once, right? I do
Brilliant.
think
so true.
Yeah,
they can.
I mean, the issue is that the pricing scheme was ridiculous, and I do think that the advertising of the tournament was lackluster. The tournament is going on right now, and it seems very half-hearted that in a city like Seattle, that is a proper soccer city in this country, it's not quite hitting traction, right? Sounders play Botafogo, the champions of America. They won the Copa Libertadores. They're one of the best teams down in South America, and there's 30,500 people in the stands, and that is good. If for an MLS game, right? That's about what they average. They average between 30 and 35,000, so that's good, but they got 70,000 for when they played in the CONCACAF Champions League final, right? And the trophy that got them there. So, and that shows you that there is enough momentum there to fill Lumen Field for the big occasion games, and they have done it many times in the past. And I think there's a disconnect here, and a big issue that FIFA hasn't really given the responsibility of selling tickets to those who really know how to sell tickets in the local markets. The pricing scheme was idiotic at times. We've been to enough games to know that they make the stadiums look fuller than they are, right? By placing people and replacing people into stands and putting them lower down. And I think there's a really big lost opportunity here, right, to get people into these stadiums. If they had said, I spoke to people that work for the Sounders yesterday, and they said, like, look, they took over the facility like we're guests in our own house. Like, we would have done a lot of these things very differently. And if we had been in charge of selling tickets, there would have been more than 30,000 people in the stadium. And I believe that to be true because I've seen it. The evidence is out there that the Sounders can mobilize, their fans for when it matters.
And Manu, I hate to interject, but I think I saw this anecdotally with the Atlanta game.
Yeah,
the LAFC and Chelsea teams. Now, mind you, that's not, neither of them are connected to Atlanta, but they only
yeah,
had 22,500?
Yeah.
22,100 people at that stadium.
Yeah.
Atlanta United sells,
60,000.
44,000 tickets on average this year in
yeah.
MLS. They should have been able to get more than that with two clubs of that caliber in a city that easy to transport to. They should have been selling just
I
as
mean,
many as they do for Atlanta
Q,
United.
there's a different issue here too, right? Because LAFC, there's games at the Rose Bowl. I understand the whole thing with the play and that LAFC got added late, right? But we've known for some time now that LAFC or Club America were going to replace Club Leon. So Club America would have sold out the Rose Bowl, just as LAFC would have, right? So
Yep, absolutely. No,
the
you're correct in that.
the moment we knew that there was going to be an issue with Club Leon, and that we've known for several months now, FIFA should have said, okay, well, maybe we move this set of games to the West Coast so that if Club America make it in, it's LA, they're going to sell out. But if LAFC get in, their home team, they're obviously also going to sell out. So, like it's these little things that you just kind of feel like they're not in tune with the local market. And I think that is because they kind of, you see that I go to a lot of Sounders games when they play in MLS, and like none of the local staff is there. They're all replaced by people who have no idea what they're doing. And I think that is sort of the disconnect. They didn't rope in enough locals.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Good
How is the
analysis.
game? How is the
Good
game
analysis.
and the quality of the soccer itself? I mean, again, this is the other. What's interesting about this tournament, isn't it? Where you actually get to compare the levels of teams and leagues and where they are, right? And so where Sounders represent the MLS versus obviously Botafogo obviously represent the Brazilian league, and it was I wouldn't say it was a close-ish game, right? But how would you feel? How do you feel the quality of the sort of the soccer has been, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I did actually do a piece on that from the MLS perspective, and I work for Transfermarkt. We do market values, and squad values is a big thing, and you have a guy like Igor Jesus up front playing for Botafogo who has a market value of 15 million euros. That is the combined market value of the three Seattle Sounders attackers combined. So that is just the difference. And Igor Jesus will play in the Premier League this summer. He's going to Nottingham Forest. So and you have these moments where you sense the MLS teams are close. The Chelsea game, there were many moments where you're like, okay, yeah, maybe, but they get themselves into the final third, and then they just don't have the quality to finish the chances that their opponents finish. Chelsea had an XG of 1.93. That was 2 goals. LAFC had an XG of 0.93. They had zero goals. So, it's these moments where you can really see the discrepancy. It's not in the normal play. It's not in the build-up. It's not tactically. It's not fitness. MLS teams are probably some of the fittest in the world because we know one thing is that the staff that work for these MLS teams is world-class. It's the quality on the field and these tiny little moments is just significantly better with both the Brazilian teams and especially a team like Chelsea have a combined squad value of over €1 billion. Like they have, I counted, they have 5 players with a market value of over €50 million. The entire squad value of LAFC is 48 million.
Right.
This is what you deal with. Like there's single players in playing for Chelsea that are worth more than the entire squad of LAFC. And so, they get the chance and they score. Right. And so, so you see these little quality discrepancies, I think, especially with the MLS teams. And I mean, we saw a really huge one with Bayern Munich absolutely destroying Auckland City FC, getting the job done. But, at the same time, so you have these quality differences. But, the one thing that really stood out to me, and it's probably the prize money that dictates this, is that every single team so far has taken the tournament very serious. Whether it's the Sounders, Botafogo, LAFC, Chelsea, Bayern Munich played their first 11 against Auckland to make absolutely sure nothing could go wrong and they could get the full prize money. And I think, the money probably plays a big role. We can talk about whether that's too much football for the players because they just didn't have any rest. But so far, my sense is that, for all the shortcomings we have experienced off the field, I actually think the quality on the field has been really good.
Yeah. Interesting. Which players so far have caught your attention? I know obviously there's all the big mega stars as well, but are there any sort of like under the radar players or young players that have sort of come and sort of caught your attention that sort of you think, wow, that's an interesting one?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Leonard Carl make his debut for Bayern Munich. He's really highly touted, 17 years old.
Look good, yeah.
Yeah, he will have the bigger tasks in Auckland City ahead of him. I really liked him. I really liked Igor Jesus for Botafogo yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
The way he holds up the ball, he's very physical. You know, you can sense that he will be a big success in the Premier League. I also really like Jay Kuna, the defender that played for Botafogo, which scored the first goal. He's apparently also off to Nottingham. So,
wow. You're kidding? He's him too?
Yeah. The owners of Botafogo is owned by Textor, right? John Textor.
Yes. Correct. So why didn't he send him to Crystal Palace? I'm really pissed. Just so you know, I'm a Palace fan. So this is very upsetting to me.
Some money laundering thing going on.
No, I know. I'm well aware of it. We're gonna lose out on Europa because of it. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, those are players that I was really positively impressed by. I thought Boca today in general looked way better than the league form suggested. Going against Benfica and making a really strong case for themselves. I thought that was very impressive. And in general, as I said, the level has been really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's the tournament itself. I get the sort of the noise around it, as you mentioned, the stadiums and those kind of things. Yes, things could always be done better. It's definitely sort of, FIFA's first crack at it from a different perspective as opposed to being the World Cup. But I think in terms of the quality and the entertainment value of this actual soccer on the field as well, it has not disappointed. You cannot make that case. Even the 0-0s, even the Al Ahly Miami game. I know you were saying, I think you were traveling, Manu. It was there. That was one of the most thrilling 0-0s I've ever seen. It really is, and I genuinely do believe that. And then the same thing as well was also the other game was the Palmeiras game as well. That was also sort of, again, really entertaining, even if it was a 0-0.
What was really impressive was PSG once again. Just absolutely destroyed Atletico Madrid.
They did.
Put on a real show. Again, like no fooling around. Best 11 on the field. Boom.
Well, they didn't have Dembele and they didn't have Barcola as well. I think they rested them because of the Nations League.
Yeah, but Barcola, in fairness, is in and out.
Yeah, true. But Dembele is their star. Dembele is their star, and they did rest him. Wasn't even in the squad. So again, they didn't need him, and that's just.
I think Dembele has a knock from the Nations League.
Could have been.
Be true.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. No, that's wonderful.
What did you were at the Botafogo game? What about Martins? Matthias Martins? Did he have any impact? Because I didn't see that particular game. So, but was he a presence at all? Because
didn't stand out as much as the other two.
Okay, that's fair.
To be honest,
that's fair.
I get the one who really impressed me was Igor Jesus.
Yeah,
everything went through him, and just he had these really great moments where he would just a long ball would find him, he'd be with his back to another player and would just make himself big, hold up the play, and then just ensure it would just keep flowing forward. Another guy who stood out was Alex Telles. Yeah, he had a good game as well.
He had a good game.
Yeah, it's a good team. They won Copa Libertadores. I mean,
they've won. Yeah.
Indeed. There was a player on my radar, Imam Ashur for Al Ahly, and he was somebody that I had been very keen on just in my research, and he got sent. He basically had to be removed in the 13th minute after getting twice hit really hard. He got and off the ball. It was a little. Bit of dirty play from Inter, right? A bit of professional play from Inter.
You're saying Messi and friends are not always nice.
Well, it wasn't Messi who did it. But I'm sure there was some sign language that might have been going on to because it was absolutely the Argentinians who did all
the Messi gang, the Messi
gang. Messi and friends.
Yeah,
that's right. Exactly, indeed.
It's absolutely correct.
Okay, so. Speaking of Argentinians, let's move on to today's games. I think I've just come back from the Hard Rock Stadium and seeing that Boca Benfica game, and I'm a sort of a passive Boca fan from my days when I used to live in Argentina. I went to the Bombonera a number of times, and that's why I was really keen to go to the Boca game. I actually had to sacrifice watching the Chelsea game because the traffic and getting there and finding parking was so much so that I had to listen to it passively. But that Boca game, so we're talking about turnout. 55,000 people turned up.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
that's
telling you,
not surprising.
It was like 90% of them were Boca fans. They were all Las Hinchas were going in there, and again, all the chants were coming back as well. Everything was puta puta Salta, and they're all sort of waving their hands like this as well. Those Boca fans were so far have been the best entertaining fans. I know I'm maybe a little bit biased because I was actually in the stadium, and I have to confess I was sitting on the other side. I got the ticket. My tickets were on the Benfica side. I ended up just moving around and going to the Boca side because that's where the action was. But again, Boca, you could see they, to your point, Manu, they weren't that great. They're not that great from a sort of stat level because, as we know, any young players sort of get plucked and go straight over to Europe. Most of them go over to Europe as well, and then they have the sort of the aging players as well. So they're quite an old team as well. But they played very, very sort of classic defensive counter-attacking football where they just sat back and then just hit them on the break, and they got 2 good goals at the end. The Boca fans went absolutely nuts. It was really fun and really exciting to be in that sort of crowd. The other interesting sort of comment as well is that for Benfica, there was Di Maria and Otamendi who were playing for them. And as they were doing the lineup as well, these Boca fans went nuts and they were hissing, they were booing their own countrymen as well. I know they have no affiliation, obviously, to Boca, but it was really fun to see. Yeah, it was really fun to see.
Angel Di Maria is a River Plate guy, isn't he?
I think he's a River Plate as well. But you think, there's massive rivalry. But you think that being Argentinian, the World Cup winners and all those things, I think, and I think Di Maria is doing his swan song, isn't he? Because this is the second time he's been at Benfica because he came up through Benfica, right? And then the other interesting thing as well was, it's just suddenly like they really lost their heads though. I mean, Boca completely lost their heads. I don't know if you saw this. Obviously, there was.
So I'm just going to correct myself real quick. Angel Di Maria is a Rosario Central guy.
Rosario, there we go. So he's
Rosario.
Another Rosario guy, right? Yeah. But and then the other thing was, of course, was just it was the quality you could see. Benfica weren't that great either. There were a lot of these like errant balls that just like, cross-field balls that normally at this level you'd expect to be sort of controlled down and then move on. And a lot of them were just flying out. Renato Sanchez in particular looked really off the pace. And like considering, I mean, I remember he scored the winning goal in the Euros for Portugal all those years ago. So that was an interesting one. But it was a really, really good game. Those Boca fans are absolutely fantastic. And I know they only got the point. I think the manager got sent off as well. I wasn't sure. I couldn't see.
No. There was under Herrera.
It was a coach
substituted out was substituted out for injury, got a red card because during the VAR, the referee was at the VAR. No, he wasn't talking.
Can we talk about that moment?
He bum rushed the thing, and there was a security guard who must have been at least 350 pounds. Literally stepped in his way and was "No, you are not going into the zone."
It was a beautiful moment, but also they had the referee cam to show what the referee saw, and I was like, why does he need VR for this? I mean, this is one of those things that drives me absolutely crazy for VR. So I'm for VR, to make this clear. I think it's a tool that should be used, but like referees need to start refereeing on the pitch again, because like they showed like his perspective and he was looking right at the foul. I'm like, that is not something you need to review. Like, this is something you just call live.
It's intimidating, particularly with those Boca fans as well. They are nuts.
And then so, like the players kept looking at the screen. I'm like, what are they pointing at? Like, why are they pointing at the screen? Yeah. Like, all I'm seeing on the screen is another foul.
By the way, ref cams, big fan of ref cams as well. I think too. I really am looking forward to. I'm sure they're going to roll those out across the big leagues as well. I know Qooligan is. I don't know if you know Manu. But Qooligan is a referee. He is a ref, and he's fed up with all the technology.
More wires that I have to tie in and like loop around all my bits, and I'm like, oh my god! I feel I feel like a Borg out of Star Trek 9. I mean, I'm just like, what the hell?
Madonna in concert, that's what it is, right? Yeah, it's too much.
I wish I was Madonna in concert.
Jeez.
Make a lot more money.
Well, keep grinding away here, Qooligan. Keep grinding away here.
I do my best.
And then, so any other thoughts or comments on that Boca Benfica game? I think I'm just looking at it. Looks like Flamenco 1-2-0 against Juniors. Just watching, have it on in the background here now. Those we're recording.
I mean,
any other?
I got to talk about the red cards because again, Andres Herrera, that was dumb. He's out. I mean, if they don't advance, he's gone. He's done for the tournament. I know he may have been out because of his injury, and maybe his injury was severe, and I hope that's not the case. But I can't imagine what kind of idiocy it is for you to actually try to physically intervene with the referee doing a VAR. Makes no sense. Yeah. But there were like red mist moments that were happening all over the place. And the other one that struck my mind was was the second,
the Figa one, the other Boca red.
Figa one was completely idiotic.
Stupidity,
that's red mist. He's at the halfway line, in front of the benches. There is absolutely no reason to go in, with the studs exposed and trying to stomp. It's just that is a pure red mist moment. No, the other one was Belotti, and I understand why it was given, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, his leg was really high, right? I was like, that was a really high boot. And then they showed the replay and I went, oh, I said, that wasn't a high boot. It was a high boot with a flex into the player's head. He actually physically moved his foot to touch the player's head. Was it a dangerous play? No, he wasn't ever going to do any significant damage with his foot that high and with that extension, but still, it was an intentional act to move his foot down to tap the guy on the head with the stud, saying, hello, I'm here. Yeah. Boom, tap on the head.
And he was
and made no sense. No sense.
And he got substituted on as well. So again, you could see just what's interesting is always, I've noticed in this tournament football, the first round is always normally very tense, tight games, and there are some silly mistakes, and then everyone learns. And once they get to the second and the third round as well, all of a sudden there's less red mist, there's less dissent. There's been a lot of yellow cards for dissent as well. The referees really are clamping down on that, which is good to see.
Yes.
And you're gonna see less of that, because again, players will find themselves suspended and costing their teams points and sort of qualification. And as you said, Manu, money, right? There is a direct now correlation.
There's a lot of money involved.
You got a red card. We lost that game. We're out. Yeah. We've lost the money. You fucked us here, right? That there is a big part of that, right?
No, but think about that. So Benfica goes down 10 men, and by the way, I have to give props to who wins the shithouser of the tournament award so far is Otamendi with that painful roll, just to attract attention to the referee so that VAR would have time to whisper in his ear, oh, go have a look at this because I got kneed in the thigh.
The beauty of that is, like, when he did that, they briefly went up to the stands to show Pepe in the stands, which was like such an amazing television moment.
Whoever was directing that show deserves a bonus, because that's some good knowledge, some great knowledge right there. Absolutely, 100%.
You want to see number one shithousery and that's ever existed on a football pitch? Let's just show him on TV real quick.
But I mean that was it shows that there's a mental side to this game, right? There's a mental side, and he knows how to play that game. Good job, good on him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they came back, right? They managed to eke out. They get that point. I mean, that point denied Boca Juniors. What is it? A 3 point? Is it $3 million per win or $2 million per
$3 million?
It's a lot $2 million of money to win.
So it's cost them $2 million. And you could make the argument that Boca actually threw it away, right? They were 2-0 up. They were sitting pretty. They were good. And then Benfica went down to 10 men. So they could have held it on. But I think it also does go to the point, the level that we're talking about, Benfica, the level maybe is just a little bit more above where the Argentinian league as well, and they just came through and sort of did it and took it over. But
do you think Auckland's going to get hazard pay for being beat up so bad? I mean, is there like some sort of commiseration rule?
There is an argument. There is a strategy if you are Auckland against Boca, is just go and wind them up as well and see if you can get a few players sent off and then try and sting them. Right? That's how it is. But
that's a little dark. It's a little dark.
Well, that group is pretty open though now as well. Like, who is going to qualify? You think Benfica maybe they'll probably do it over Auckland, and then Bayern. Obviously, they will. They're not going to rest the kids for the third game, right? They are going to go for that prize money as well. They are going to go for the win, right? So. It is open and it is competitive. So who comes out of that group?
Here's the question of the night. Does Auckland have any chance against any of these two teams? Any chance at all?
So I've been thinking about that. You know how sometimes these underdogs get like a really heavy beating the first game, and then they like surprise someone in the second game. Dinamo Zagreb lost their first game in the Champions League stage 9-2 to Bayern, and I think they got out of the group stage in the end. So
they did. I think they were on the low. Were 24th or 25th. They were really low, but they were really low on it. But I do think you're right. Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they take this chalk one of the other two teams.
I feel the same as you, Manu. I think it could.
Boca.
I think it could. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is
because now they know what it is about, right? Like they've played the big guy.
Yes.
They got the beating. they understand that this is maybe not quite their level, and so maybe playing with these teams is not the best idea. But the level goes significantly lower, right? Like you're going to playing one of this 4 most valuable teams in the competition to playing middle of the pack teams now, right? So
right.
It is a different thing. The gap is still massive, obviously, but it is all of a sudden it becomes a different thing. And so, I wouldn't surprise me if this 10-0 beating, don't know if that's going to necessarily translate to the other 2 games.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Well, that will be interesting on that group. And then just thinking about looking at group, is it group D? Obviously now it looks like Flamenco confirmed with a 2-0 win, as well as Chelsea winning 2-0. What did you guys think of that Chelsea-LA game? As I say, unfortunately, I couldn't watch it because I was fighting through traffic and trying to find parking at the Benfica game.
What to say? Manu, you take the lead on this one. I got to get my thoughts together.
I think LAFC huffed and puffed, but just like the Sounders yesterday, they just, Denny Boanga is a good player. He's not a number 9. He's a winger. He's a very, very good player in MLS. He scores a lot of goals. I think he would be a very good player in Europe, but not quite as productive because, like the demands of a number 9 are different in the top 4 leagues. And that was just the difference, Pedro Neto and Enzo Fernandez have the quality to put chances away that LAFC just couldn't. Shot count was crazy. It was 17-7 in Chelsea's favor, but it was actually only 6-4 on shots on goal. All right, and so and that is I think where you saw the level was actually a lot closer than maybe the initial shot count shows, but. Yeah, I again, there is still a significant gap between MLS and the top 4 leagues, and it showed in that match.
Yeah, Boanga's best shot came when he was lying prone on the ground.
Yeah,
in the 81st time, he was literally on the ground, and he still managed to get a shot on frame out of it that had it.
And that was marked down as LAFC's biggest chance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
that's where the 0.96 XG comes from.
Got it. And and because that had the chance of, when you're in that position, you don't expect anything, and that had a chance to maybe sneak past the keeper. But but at the same time, we got to see Liam Delap wearing Chelsea blue for the first point. Right, he came out. He had a fantastic. He came out, and his first touch on the ball, he made a beautiful run down to the touchline and a nice pass back up the middle that just got got well defended. I couldn't say that he was explosive. I could say, but did he slot into the position and do the job? Absolutely. But is he the next best thing for sliced bread? We don't know yet. He only played 30 minutes. He doesn't. There's not enough time to make any judgments.
He doesn't have to be, because Todd is just going to buy another 10 players.
Well, maybe that's true. But who do you buy? I think the question is he best? Can he finish more than Nicholas Jackson? Right? Because Nicholas Jackson gets into the positions. He seems to have everything: the pace, the power, the touch. Well, not the touch. That's not true. But for a striker, he's missing 2 things: shooting accuracy and a touch. Those are the 2 things. He's more of a sprinter than a striker, than a complete striker, right? And I think that's where Delap comes in. I don't know how much pace he has, but it seems like he's a little bit more sort of poised.
He looks pacey enough. He looks pacey enough on this. I don't think he had a shot in this game, though. I think he was mostly there he was playing more support and feeding, creating service as opposed to having a shot. I had to sign off at the 80th minute, so I didn't get to see him play too much. But that first play that he did was memorable. It was a lovely bit of effort.
Yeah.
Right? It was a lovely bit of effort.
Yeah, I think, well, who knows? I mean, they'll probably end up shipping out Jackson, depending if they can find someone to take up his massive 8-year contract and bring in another striker.
Again, I saw a lot of yellow cards for Chelsea. Chelsea got chippy. They had a little attitude, right? And so like Cucurella was getting. I mean, these were all off ball.
Always.
These were all off ball yellows.
Was Cucurella playing goalkeeper again?
Nah, he was just defending his space. He was defending his space like this.
Okay.
Right? That's all.
I hear he won the Golden Glove last year, so.
God. Oh my God. Wonderful. All right.
But Chelsea had 500 passes, right? They had 500 passes by the 65th minute, and LAFC only had 25, right? So I mean, like from a possession standpoint, Chelsea was clearly comfortable in possessing that ball and moving the ball around, and LAFC seemed okay with it. Their goals were the Chelsea goals. The first goal was clinical, well done. Second goal was a little scrappy and opportunistic by Enzo, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. LA just couldn't counter. They just couldn't. They didn't have an answer for it. That's all.
I was scrolling through X just to obviously sort of just try and recap and get a sense of what happened as well. And my favorite comment was now that Chelsea have won and made that $3 million, they can now afford to sign Mike Maignan as well because of the $5 million difference as well. They can finally get it. That's something that made me laugh and chuckle. But yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, guys, I think that's brought us up on time as well. So that's a good recap of the day's games as well. Obviously, more of it tomorrow. More everywhere, everything all at once. It is a fantastic. It is. I have to say, general verdicts. I appreciate there is some kinks and wrinkles in the system in terms of the process of ticket sales and marketing and promotion and those kind of things. But on the whole, Manu, what are your thoughts on sort of the overall sort of the concept of the Club World Cup? Are you for it? Are you against it? What's your thoughts?
I would give it like a C+ at the moment.
Oof. Okay.
The marketing needed to be better, and the ticket sales are a massive failure. There's no two ways of putting it. I think the way this was rolled out was amateur hour, and when you see how the stadiums have worked, it's just not good enough. But it is intriguing seeing these teams play against each other. Now that the tournament is on, I've been watching every game with a lot of intrigue. I'm staying at my friend's house in Seattle. He works for one of the big tech companies down here, and he's joined me while he's working away on his laptop, watching the games with me. He's a big football fan too, and he's the normal fans are liking tuning in, intrigued by seeing all these different teams play, and I think it's a really interesting to see teams from Africa, South America against European teams square off, and I'm now in this story, and I want to see how it finishes. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Super. Well, Manu, obviously just to sort of recap, everyone can go and find out. So obviously more of your content, obviously Transfermarkt, obviously as well. And then Gegenpressing, the Bundesliga product as well, podcast, go and check that out as well. And then of course, as always, Qooligan, thank you for joining us. Obviously more of it tomorrow, everything, everywhere, all at once, and fun times ahead. Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Cheers.